Hi, this is Kristen Castleman, and I'm joined today by Estefani. Estefani, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Bautista. I teach seventh and eighth grade science at a junior high in Orange County, California.
All right, thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining us today. I'm going to take you through a few questions, mostly related to social, emotional, or mental health, as that relates to resources available on a secondary school campus. So, to start us off, Stephanie, could you share how many counselors your campus has?
We have three counselors, so we have the head counselor and then two counselors.
Okay. And then any additional support staff that are focused solely on mental health, or how does that work in terms of infrastructure for your campus?
So we do have different people that are on campus that help with mental health. So we have a social worker, and then we have a few school psychologists. And then I believe right now there's a few interns both for counseling and for school psychology, or like school psychologists that we have on campus.
Okay. Okay. And then as it relates to how information is disseminated or made available to those students, what resources do you have and how do you get that information to your students?
Sometimes we have a what's called a homeroom during fifth period. We have an
Okay.
extra 20 minutes every week. And if it's something that the counselors want us to get out, so we'll have a homeroom lesson about it. Sometimes the counselors themselves will do a Google Meets, and then
Okay.
we all log in for the Google Meets, and the counselors are talking to the kids about anything that they need to talk about. And recently, actually, the counselor scheduled a meeting with like the science teachers for them to be able to pull out the kids. So then
Mhm.
they sat outside and we're pulling out the kids one at a time just to check in with them.
Okay, so
So
it sounds like it's really quite a focus on your campus then.
yeah.
And
So
then
it's
how often would you say that it's a topic of discussion? So just to give you a little bit of insight, I spoke with a high school student, not from your district, who shared that really it's kind of a conversation at the start of the year and then during mental health week, like mental health awareness week, and then that's kind of it. So would you say that's true of your campus as well, or do you guys have a different approach?
I think we have a different approach just because of our population. We have a lot of kids that are in need of mental health resources.
Hmm.
So I want to say we at least most of sometimes our meetings, like our staff meetings, at least once a month, like would touch base again with the counselors and the school psychologists of how many kids they're seeing and
Hmm.
all that. And then our counselors are also constantly emailing us if we have kids that are in need of more resources. We'll get emails like, hey, watch out for this kid. Like we have like these certain things that we're noticing. So it's not just like a one and done deal. Like it's a constant reminder throughout the school year,
Which is
whether through meeting.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, mental health doesn't go away, right? It's a constant need. So it's good to hear that your school has a different approach.
Yeah. So it's just depending on what we need is how we approach it.
Okay. And are there resources available to the students in the classrooms, or is it just primarily in the counseling office?
So it's primarily in the counseling office. If the kids want to go talk to their counselors, like they can go talk, like we just write them a note and they go up there. But they also do have in their planners, like their
Hmm.
agendas that they carry, they do have a list of like different coping strategies
Oh,
that they have with them at all times because they have their planner with them all the time.
cool.
So that is something that is available to them. But like I said, it's mainly in the counseling office that they'll get like a lot of those resources if they need them.
So not to put you on the spot, but can you share, if possible, what one of those coping strategies outlined in their planner is?
Yeah, so they have what do they call it? The acronym Bucky. And so
Okay.
they like nature, like walking in nature, like drawing, breathing. They have a lot of breathing techniques in there. What else do they have? We went over at the beginning of the school year. But yeah, so it's just mainly like little things like that, like being able to like ground themselves. We're also
Hmm.
on mindfulness.
Okay.
So being able to like breathe or like put themselves into like a different state of mind.
Yeah, like a reset.
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome. So based on what you've shared, like in terms of the counselors you have on the campus, the Google Meets, the one-on-ones, and even the mindfulness or that portion that's in their planners, do you feel that mental health needs are adequately addressed at your school? Why or why not?
I think they are, because
Mhm.
like I said, if the kids need the help or something, like we're there to support them. Like we sent them up to the counseling office, and even if they're like like swamped, like up in the counseling office, they always make the time to be able to see the kids. And I think we have a lot of staff on board with in the counseling department, so
Mhm.
I
It's a
think they,
priority.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is a big priority on our campus.
How many students would you estimate attend your school?
We have around 1,300.
Okay, so pretty big campus. That's 2 grades, correct?
2 grades, yes.
Okay. So switching gears a little bit in terms of like the interpersonal relationships between the students, what is your campus's approach or process if a child or if a student feels like they're being bullied, or if they see, someone in distress or in need of assistance or support and report that? Like, what does that process look like for those students?
We have a Google form that
Okay.
there's the QR codes are all over campus. Us as teachers, we have one in our classroom as well. So we
Okay.
have the QR codes that this, if it's not something that's an emergency, then they can scan the QR code, and then the counselors will pull them in when they get to them. If it is an emergency, then they'll go up to the counseling office, like personally, to talk about it. But
Okay.
for the most part, most of the referrals and stuff come through that QR code that
Mhm.
the kids have available, and
Mhm.
that's how they were reported. I think they also have a app called the Stop It app, where they
Oh,
could
okay.
where they can report stuff like anonymously if they
Got
see
you.
anything, so they can
Okay.
report it that way.
So they feel empowered, whether it's bringing it forward via the Google form, which it sounds like requires some information, their name, etc., or they
Yeah.
can report it anonymously.
Yeah, the counselors
Okay.
sometimes tell us that most of like the reports and stuff like they get from the students are like trying to help their friends. So like they heard that their friend
Okay.
was being bullied or something, and so then they'll put in that like request, "Hey, can you talk
Yeah.
to my friend about this?"
Okay. So what does that follow-up look like? Like once a student submits that Google form, is the counselor required to follow up with the student that submitted it, or just to acknowledge, hey, we got this and we're on it, or what does that kind of back end part look like?
I honestly don't know how it looks like that on that back end. I just know
Okay.
that the counselors will pull in the kids that like were mentioned on the Google form, but I'm
Mhm.
not sure if the initial like reporter
Process. Okay.
yeah, would get some sort of feedback.
Still, it's great that that's available. I mean, we all know that most students that age have cell phones available. So the fact that it's available at their fingertips is certainly um, an empowering, as I mentioned before, option for them.
Yeah.
And then, real quick question. So you shared that, or you shared with me that you've been teaching for 6 years. Have all 6 years been at a junior high campus?
Yes.
Okay. Um, So just curious if you can share a little bit about how mental health and the resources necessary for our students has changed from the pre-COVID or pre-pandemic world to now.
Um, well, now I think 6 years, I think I only had 2 normal years per se in the classroom. So
Okay.
I want to say that I wasn't really aware of everything that was available, like
Hmm.
with the resources and stuff. But after the pandemic, or like during the pandemic, we started hearing a lot more from like the school psychologists, the counselors, and all that. So I think it made it come forward more that
Hmm.
the students needed mental health. So, but it might have just been that I was newer before the pandemic.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I didn't really know that all of this was available, but I feel like after and during the pandemic, we have seen an increase of like emails and meetings that deal with mental health.
Okay, so it definitely feels like it's more at the surface. It's a present topic of mind for all layers of staff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, my last question really just is around anything else that you would want to share that we haven't touched on today regarding mental health resources or actions taken as a teacher yourself or counselor on your campus.
No, I think we pretty much touched on everything. We also have what's a restorative justice person on our campus. So
Okay, what
that's
is
all.
that?
So basically, if the students have like some sort of conflict within each, like with another classmate or something, they go to the restorative justice person and they like talk about their feelings and what happened, how can we better this. So like I said, I think we just have a lot of resources for our kids on our campus.
Yeah, it
So
sounds like multiple layers and different like outlets to plug into depending on what's going on or the severity of the issue.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking time with me today, Stephanie. I really appreciate all of your insight as we continue the conversation around mental health for secondary students.
All right, you're welcome.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.